Well, the original people of America go back about 230,000 years. And they are the melanated people who had their both kingdoms, fiefdoms, villages, nations, 500 of us, 500 nations within this land here called Turtle Island. It has several different names, Turtle Island being one of them, and Amorica. And we are the original inhabitants of this land. We are the mound builders. We're the descendants of the mound builders. In this land, from coast to coast, there are mounds, and there were mounds because some of them have been destroyed to make way for cities and towns and so forth. But we've been here and built cities under the Grand Canyon. There's a city, and I understand, I think there's even 2 cities under there. That's where our vast estate is, by the way, that we've had for, like I said, 200,000-300,000 years. And we are the copper-toned people from coast to coast. Even Kevin Costner in his 500 Nations video that he did, a 9-part series, where he talks about California, the other coast. He leaves out Calipia, the Amazon queen who led an army of 10,000 Amazonian women, taller than 7 feet, taller than most of them taller than 6'8", 7 feet, and above. And they could sail as well. They worked with the Moors. They traveled. They fought against other entities and places around the world. So this is our story that we must know, but yet we go for the okie doke with the Rockefeller version. Rockefeller's version is that they came over here from England and they discovered us, or they put it on Colon, Cristobal Colon. They say he discovered us. Well, how are you going to discover something that's already there, that's already built up? And if you go to YouTube and see what the Canaan land Moors have done, have this exposed at the museum in St. Louis, where they show you literal paintings, structures of what was here before they came and tore down a lot of it, and it makes the modern day White House look like a dump. The history of Olmeca is what it's really called. The Olmecs, a people, Asiatic people, came and set up the first kingdom, and moved all the way up here to Arizona, and it's actually called Olmeca because that was the first one. Later on, the Mixtec, Chapotec, Apotec, Aztec, and etc. All those different peoples came up out of that. And we have the stone heads in Olmeca. They want to make you believe that it's Michoacan or Micho. That's where Mexico came from. No, Olmeca is where it came from. The Olmecs are the first entity that set up shop there down the peninsula there in Mexico, so-called Mexico. So yeah, and they set up and traded with many of us all the way up to Canada. So we have a history, high story. Excuse me. We have a high story, and that high story is our story, and that's the story we must focus on. Absolutely. According to Meriwether Lewis, who headed the Lewis and Clark expedition that Jefferson had financed from the Mississippi River west to the west coast of Oregon and back, they zigzagged both ways, and they met up with all kinds of people. And Meriwether Lewis wrote in his book, in his chronicles, which was, of course, taken out of his chronicle and put in the Smithsonian archive so you couldn't find it, but we lucked out and got it anyway. He wrote Wherever we went west of the Mississippi, quote, we found the spiral-haired people in charge, not the stringy-haired people were sent to greet us, unquote. So my question is, well, wait a minute, what happened to that social structure? And what happened to that, those kingdoms and fiefdoms and nations and clans, etc., all the way across the country? Because how can we go from being Indians run out of the South on the Trail of Tears into Oklahoma, turn Oklahoma into a prosperous state, and then be called Negroes? And then they bomb us from the sky. The first town ever bombed from an airplane was bombed in the United States in Greenwood, Oklahoma, a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. Mass murder, folks, not just some happenstance or they got mad and went across the tracks. No, this was a race riot. Race, and the ones who were racing were the so-called whites, the poor, the broke, the backwards, and the rest were all whipped into hysteria by a purported rape in an elevator, which could not happen, first of all. And second of all, the two of them knew each other and already had romantic relations going, and they must have had a fallout or something, because and then at her deathbed, she confessed that the whole thing was a lie. You know, she was just getting back at him, you see. So, and this is what I try to tell people about this idea of so-called race relations. What race are y'all talking about, y'all? What is all this racial justice bullshit? What is that? What is racial justice? What is that? What races are they talking about? Absolutely not, because there's no way in hell you're going to call people of copper complexion, and you know copper has a dark side and a light side as well, and all the variations in between. And we have that in our various nations and peoples under the great law of peace that reigned in this land for thousands and thousands of years, and wherein folks were not raiding each other and battling and stealing and carrying on using guns and horses, things that they never had even before that. So no, they should not be called black, because black is an adjective. An adjective cannot you cannot describe us as that, because we are not that. There's no land in the world called black. The word black actually comes etymologically, comes from the word bleak, B-L-E-A-C, which means bleached out and pale. That certainly is not us. So, you know, why do we insist upon this black thing? Well, I can guarantee you why, and explain why. It comes from the elite amongst us, those black Greeks and those attorneys and bar members and those professors and the talented 10th of Du Bois and these kind of folks. You know, they prevent us from, they're the gatekeepers, and they prevent us from getting what we're supposed to get. We should identify ourselves as the original inhabitants of this land. Ethnicity can be a number of things. It depends upon what part of the land that you're from. And you know, enslavement ensued for a couple of hundred years, and so they always want to talk about the enslaved, and then they always want to throw in the free blacks. And I keep asking the question, who are these free blacks, and where did they come from? What black land did they come from? You know, and how were they free and the others were enslaved? What's the deal with that? How do you explain that? See, and so this is the Rockefeller narrative that permeates the so-called education system and permeates the thinking processes of our so-called intellectuals who have bought into this whole story that they've been fed all these the last 100 and some years, through the public food system. And I say public food system because literally Rockefeller and Ford and them went to Leipzig, Germany, and brought over here the Yiddish shulas. That's where the word school comes from, shula. And those Yiddish shulas from Leipzig is the model that was brought here to become the public food system. And the public school system is set up to train people to follow orders and to do what they're told and to operate machinery and to do things how they're instructed to do so and to pass tests and this kind of thing. This is training, high-level training, okay? And then you train some people more than others, and then you stratify them, and then you put them one against the other, pit them one against the other for the wages and salaries. And this is the system in this land, which I call super monopoly. This is the game you can't play in, the super monopoly. It's only played by a handful of families and people compared to the rest of the population. Not even a. Well, no, there's no such a thing. If white is not cannot be a people, because there's no place on the planet called white. This is a construct of colonialism, of race and racialism, because there is but one race, and that's us, and everyone else comes out of us. That's the facts, Jack. If you don't like it, too bad. Go back to Mozambique and connect up with the first Eve right there, and there's plenty of other evidence as well, and so we don't have to create anything. We know the story. We know our story. That's the one thing I do claim to know, our story, and I promote that vigorously, because without it, we're only following somebody else's version, somebody else's story, and it's going to lead us right into the grave. Well, the people that came out of the Caucasoid Mountains, that are referred to as Caucasians, I suggest people read the book The Iceman Inheritance. That's a book you'll find online. Iceman Inheritance, and in that book he explains a lot of this situation with the people of the far north, the steppes and the mountains and the Caucasus, the caves of the Caucasus. And so these people are actual hybrids of humans or human beings. See, they're like a human. And so what has happened is that through the ages that Europa has gone through so many wars and invasions, the Huns, the Mongols, and the other various invasions that have happened, the Shepherd Kings from the steppes of the north, who actually converted to the religion of Judaism in the 8th century in order to avoid fighting with the Moors. These are hybrid beings that were left and taken up into the Caucasus by the Olmecs and others who had been experimenting and bringing forth these hybridizations of humans, and that has to do with many of our ancestors that were fooling around in the laboratory and doing this kind of stuff, which is why we are suffering to this day, because if you don't take responsibility for what you've done, it's going to catch up with you sooner or later. Some of the Lenape, for example, were sent across to Europa and became servants and slaves, and then they also were returned, and they also had a trail of tears because they were made to walk from Delaware, Pennsylvania area all the way to Oklahoma as well. First the so-called Cherokee, then the rest of us in the South, which were the Chickasaw, Choctaw, the Yamasee, the various other nations from in the Seminole, which actually Seminole really means a runaway slave. So this is this is a story we must know, and actually all that story is already at our fingertips through the books that were written and published by J.A. Rogers and his beautiful wife, who actually was the one making sure that those books were produced. And those books were starting with Ku Klux Spirit, for example. That's a J.A. Rogers pamphlet, 25 pages, it'll blow your mind. And then from Superman to Man, where he's the porter on the train, and he gets into a discussion with a senator from Oklahoma, and he eats this cat's lunch. He makes him look like like what he was, a big Okie, and then he has the world's great men and women of color, a must read. You have Nature Knows No Color Line, another must read. You have Sex and Race, volumes 1, 2, and 3, especially volume 2, because it shows all of the melanated folks all around the planet. See, anywhere you go on this planet, whether it's a globe or it's a flat, you're going to find us. And I've done that myself personally, from the north to the south of the African continent, or Alkebulan, and I've done it east to west, and I've been to the South Pacific and the South Solomon Sea, in Australia and Papua New Guinea, and so I've seen these things for myself. So I know a whole different story than most people, because I've experienced it. All throughout Europa. And this is why we have to take back the name Europa, because that is the name of a melanated female goddess from Greece, folks. From Greece. So is Greece a country where there are pale faces, or was Greece a country where we were? Well, of course it was a country where we were first, and then it was through the various wars that happened down through the ages. You're going to have the transfer. You're going to get a mixture, and when certain groups win over other groups, you're going to lighten the complexion. You're going to lighten the population, and so this has gone on for eons, not just no couple thousand, 40,000, 20,000, 2,000 years. It goes way back, further than the seats in your car. Well, it's a current scamdemic and planned-demic, because explain to me this: how is it that a Connecticut congressman in 2019 bring forth a bill in Congress called the CARES Act, C standing for Coronavirus Response? How does that happen, and then is passed in March of 2020? How a year before the thing that even came about? That's my question. Explain that to me. How does that work? And then after that, you had Bobby Rush bring forth the Trace Act, which sets up a whole Gestapo type organization and bureaucracy that runs around collecting data on people as to who they saw, who they were with, if they got sneezed on or coughed on, and all kind of nonsensical bullshit that has nothing to do whatsoever with the physiology of the body. Body doesn't work like that in the first place. You cannot catch a virus. We're walking around with 5 to 10 pounds of bacteria and viruses in our bodies that must be there to keep us alive, especially in this toxic environment we're in, you see. But this is all, 10th grade, 12th grade basic biology and physiology and this kind of thing. But the way the system works, you're just moved along, you pass those tests, you go from grade to grade, you graduate, and you never touch another book, because you're off doing what you got to do to survive. You see, you got to work. So you don't spend time reading or studying or checking into things, but this right here that all of us have, or so many of us have today, is our walking portable library. This is a full-on library. Anything you want to know, you can ask this thing right here and it'll tell you. It may not tell you everything, but it'll give you a good start in finding out what's real and what can do. Well, the 5G is from what I have looked into and followed in the last couple of years from some of the experts and doctors that have looked into this and see how deadly it is. This is literally a weapon. According to the one Englishman who was involved with the bringing out this whole thing, he's the one that shared this on a YouTube, that this is literally a weapon. And when you are exposed to the 60 gigahertz and above, now your circulatory system cannot work properly. In other words, your hemoglobin in your blood cannot deliver the oxygen it's supposed to, because the 60 gigahertz malforms it. So when you see, your blood is circulating in your body from your head to your feet every 16 seconds. See, that's the miracle we are. That's our Creator, that's the God in us, that we're able to do all this and exist in this highly toxic and poisonous environment. See? So my thing is to show people, hey, you have all the power to do anything you need to do, but you have to know what to do. You can't believe in things that you don't understand, because Stevie told us that. Oh, well, thank you so much for the interview, and I hope people get their pens and paper and computers out and start looking up the things that I'm pointing out, because we are the ones that we have been waiting for. No one believe anything I say. Go look it up yourself. You'll find out. That's my ending on that.
Yes, I know this is my birthright. Yes, I know this is my birthright. It's my birthright. It's my birthright.
I am one with my Father in spirit. I am an heir to the throne. I am abundant. My gifts and talents is my birthright to share with the world. Peace, love, and a sound mind is my birthright. I am entitled to wealth. I am entitled to health. Like the tree that grows in the ground, I'm created to be abundant. I am one with love. I am entitled to freedom. I am entitled to my own choices. Creativity is my birthright. Wisdom is my birthright. Family is my birthright. It is my birthright to communicate directly with my Creator. I am entitled to win in this life. Courage is my birthright. Prosperity is my birthright. Faith is my birthright. Strength is my birthright. Integrity is my birthright. Respect and self-respect is my birthright. Abundance is my birthright. Freedom is my birthright. Choice is my birthright. Growth is my birthright. Love is my birthright. Change is my birthright. Peace is my birthright. Discernment is my birthright. Praying is my birthright. Faith is my birthright. Privacy is my birthright. Winning is my birthright. Overcoming obstacles is my birthright. Achieving is my birthright. Success is my birthright. I say yes to success. I say yes to love. I say yes to freedom. I say yes to privacy. I say yes to faith. I say yes to my Father. I say yes to my Creator. I say yes to me. It's my birthright.
Yes, I know this is my birthright. Yes, I know this is my birthright.
I say yes to winning.